All right, fine. Good afternoon. My name is Omari Salisbury. I'm a journalist with ConvergeMedia here in Seattle. For the new guys, OMARI, last name SALISBURY, ConvergeMedia, like it sounds. Find us at www.converge. So I was the only journalist that was in this meeting here today. We were called basically with the intention to do live stream. We've been streaming most of the interviews over here for the purpose of reporting and also transparency. So usually when people want to meet in public, then they ask us to come and live stream. And just like yesterday's press conference, we set up there for the live stream. The protest, the group of people that represented the protesters, they wanted the live stream to occur. Then one of the organizers who was there, Andre Taylor, said that they didn't want it should be closed, and then the mayor followed up with that. The mayor said that she wanted it to be an intimate type of setting. So we, one person there said that we could live tweet. So we were live tweeting, trying to give you guys information from there. And then the mayor actually personally stood up and walked over to me and asked me not to continue to live tweet. And so, of course, we respected those wishes. Meeting started with the mayor talking about what she's done. And, you know, she talked about things like the transfer of Fire Station 6 over to Africatown. She talked about a proposed budget, $100 million. People have been following this story here in Seattle. You guys have heard all of these points here before. She hit all of those main points. She also talked about Cal Anderson Park. She told the people in the audience that she was gay and that Cal Anderson Park has a special meaning for her and the LGBTQ community. Big weekend going into Pride. So it was just some introductions and stuff like that. Then they opened up the floor to grievances. And I don't know if you guys, a lot of people saw this. It's on Twitter as well. And or demands, not even grievances. And I'll be honest with you. That's our camera. You move yours. Why he got to move?
You don't have to.
Okay. Well, this is our camera.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. So let me tell you, they're right here. I mean, I'll be honest with you. The mayor came through and she struck a lot of these demands right off the top. She struck them. She said that either the city has better requirement on the way to meeting the requirement, or it's out of the city's hands. So the mayor went through here. She said they said that they want law enforcement body camera requirements. Well, the police have the body cameras, and what happened is going into after the flashpoint back there, the camera rule was before that in an exercise of someone's First Amendment rights that a body cam can't be turned on by the police. But then we saw here at the Western Barricade that the public felt differently about that. So the body cam is one that she said that should be struck. She didn't personally say, use the word should be struck, but she said these are demands that have been met. Patrol vehicles with in-car recording cameras. The patrol vehicles in the Seattle Police Department have had recording cameras for years. Number one here, immediate removal of qualified immunity. The mayor said that a city can't do that falls within the state. And so that's an issue for Governor Inslee, but she said that she's willing to support that. So on number one, section 1 here, immediate removal of qualified immunity, she said that's the state. A, body cams, that's been addressed. B, patrol vehicles with video recording cameras. SPD has video recording cameras. C, upon termination of violent misconduct, officers cannot be hired by any law enforcement institution. And she said that she was in support of that and worked because that rule currently handicaps somebody like Chief Best, who might want to fire a police officer. But again, the mayor pointed out that some of the demands that are here on this piece of paper are demands that aren't within her power, or that are no longer an issue, and things like that. Okay, so let me go down to 2, refunding of education, housing, and healthcare in Southside. and Central District by the means of defunding the Seattle Police Department by 50%. Where the mayor came and she said that she has Chief Best looking at different models around 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%. But she also pushed back and she said that because they want to defund and they want to invest in education, housing, community healing, and creation of new office department within public safety to administer grants to community-based violence. Anyway, let me go back on this. So what the mayor said is she went through her list and she basically broke down different areas where she said the city is giving investment. She talked about the investment that the city has made in affordable housing. She talked about all the different community funds that are out there that the city is investing in. She said when they said that they wanted a Department of Public Safety to administer grants, she said that that's the wrong department. Why is public safety going to issue grants? Shouldn't it be a Department of Financial Opportunity that you want to issue grants? Why would the police want to issue a grant? And also funding a co-responder form of policing that pairs officers with social workers when responding with a crisis and welfare checks. And I mean, what Mayor Durkan said is she echoed Chief Best's sentiment in saying that, that she agrees that policing needs to be reimagined here. She said there were 17,000 calls last year to 911. They were all mental health calls, 17,000 calls that came in there. It says removal of youth felonies for nonviolent crimes in order to break the school to prison pipeline. Said that's not her, you know what I'm saying? If it's a misdemeanor, you know, of course it's in the municipal court, but any felony goes into superior court. So, you know what I'm saying? Again, that's not an issue for the mayor of the city of Seattle. It's her position. Amnesty for all protesters. This is on here. She pointed out that the city attorney, a while ago, the city attorney said that they're not charging any protesters unless there was somebody who was caught in an act of violence. So, I mean, here's a demand that's on here that, you know, the city attorney addressed. Use of force. Again, just before you even read into it, it says RCW, Revised Codes of Washington. The city of Seattle cannot change the revised codes of Washington. So the demand that's on this list here isn't something that the city of Seattle can address. Voting restoration. Again, another point here. Felons have been able to vote in the state of Washington as long as you've completed your obligations to the Department of Corrections for a few years now. But this is a demand that's on there, so she struck that off there as well. And then independent prosecution and investigation reform, provide the Attorney General with independent jurisdiction for prosecution of police-involved deaths. Again, the Attorney General, we have a city attorney, and this demand here says Attorney General. Again, another issue, the state of Washington. So, you know, I mean, Mayor Durkan's position in there was like, hey, I've either met all the demands on here, they're in they're being met right now, or this is an issue to take up with Governor Inslee, right? And so then in the meeting, and also there it was Chief Durkan and Andre Taylor who actually facilitated the meeting, and then a group of protesters as they presented themselves when they spoke. They identified themselves as Sarah, Marcus, Angelica, Mark Anthony, Dredd, Malcolm, Shannon, Caleb McGee, only person who gave a first and last name, and Rooks. So those are the people who actually spoke. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the meeting was less about demands and more about grievances. You know what I'm saying? It's a grievance about, you know, how is EMS responding, or what happened here, or what happened this morning. The mayor talked about, you know, SDOT came in and somebody pulled out a gun on SDOT, and, you know, it's just all this is back and forth, man. You know what I'm saying? That's why eventually we just left the meeting. You know, it was real petty. So here's the takeaways, though, is that one thing, one person there was actually two people who spoke where the mayor's like, she's going to take action on it. And neither of those things have anything to do on this list right here. One person who spoke was Marcus. A lot of you guys who've been out here, you know Marcus. He has the garden over there. And Marcus said that they needed a plan, a real comprehensive plan, a human services plan around people that are in the park and require immediate human services, people experiencing homelessness, mental health issues, things like that, right? So what the mayor said is she said that they're on this to work on a plan immediately, and they want to get back to Marcus in the morning. And what that plan would really entail is Marcus and his team of protesters working with the city, social workers, human services, maybe navigator team and everything else to be able to provide services over there into the area, especially in the CHOP where people are experiencing homelessness, people might be experiencing mental illness. The second thing is that for right now, especially there was some incidents that are pretty well documented regarding response times of the Seattle Police Department. So what they're doing right now, as the meeting's ongoing, I think beyond the mayor exiting, what they're doing now is they're working on a plan with Chief Scoggins. They're getting Chief Best on the phone. And then you've also got the mayor's chief of staff so they can quickly identify places outside of the CHOP. Yesterday there was a situation where guys took a person outside of the CHOP, called the police, and it was a long response time. And so they're working on something right now where there might even be a special phone number where security people call, right? So here's what the mayor is saying. That was one, was the human services plan. Two, the mayor said Sunday morning she wants the barriers out of the streets and everything cleared. She said that right now they'll leave the barriers in front of the East Precinct and the campers could stay there. She's really bifurcating this issue or breaking it into phases. Phase one, the mayor is saying Sunday morning, all cement barricades except for the ones that encompass the East Precinct here. She wants them cleared out of the CHOP area, right? And she said that she wants everything else cleared and open. The mayor is saying that they don't have an exact timeline yet for the East Precinct itself. That's why they said they'll leave a barricade around the East Precinct and the campers will remain in the East Precinct for this phase one, which she did not identify how long that phase is going to last. But she said this Sunday morning that their plan is to get this stuff out the street. She said that as Seattle Fire, and I've mentioned this before, Seattle Fire and SPD are going to be working with this group of protesters to be able to bring up some emergency response based upon police response time that was brought there. The mayor made clear that, what we took away from it is she was like, man, this isn't a negotiation. This is a discussion here, telling you guys, like, man, this is how this is going to move forward. Quite a few protesters, every protester that was there, they spoke mostly around these issues that are outlined right here. And, the thing is the mayor, I'll be honest with you, the mayor looked at this list and she was like, oh, okay, strike. You know what I'm saying? Not my jurisdiction. And one other thing. And then, as the meeting came to an end, it was like, hey, we all agree that on Sunday they're going to go and they're going to remove all the barricades there except for the barricades in front of the East Precinct. Now, we were there as observers. Originally, like I said, we were there to stream. We didn't get a question and answer. I shared these notes with the mayor's chief of staff because I said this is one I'm going to go out here and I'm going to talk to the media about. I want to make sure that this is valid as to what you see it. So everything that I've told you, especially this point right here about Sunday morning with SDOT and Parks and everybody clearing the area, that's where she said it's at. Somebody asked for Monday. She was like, Monday's kind of a stretch. She was like, Sunday's what it's going to be. I didn't hear any protesters say like, nah, we don't agree, we're going to fall back or something like that, or we're going to hold the line or anything. You know what I'm saying? So, at the point that we left the meeting, everybody was sitting there, like the mayor and Andre Taylor were like, okay, well, we're in agreement with Sunday that we're moving the barricades, right? And nobody was like, no, we don't agree. You know, there was some just tit for tat, should the police do this? Or, it got into grievances. And that's why when I first was tweeting saying I'm on my way, because the pastor, he'd actually said, have a good day. And then after that, it got into a tit for tat. There was no value in that. So that's the biggest takeaway here is that two biggest takeaways, in my opinion, sitting in there on everybody's behalf, is that the mayor just struck through this. I mean, a lot of stuff that's on here, and I'm not sure where this came from or it's representative of or anything else. And just as a member of the media here, and we got some people who are from out of state and internationally or whatever, some of these things have been part of state law here for over 2 years. I mean, number 6 here, voter restoration. Washington State is touted nationally as a state where, felons can get their life back. You get out of jail, you did something, you're able to vote. How it made it on this list of demands, I don't know. And, that's up to the protesters and that group to be able to explain to the general public. Patrol vehicles with in-car recording cameras. I grew up here in Seattle. I was a kid. I was still at like Garfield High School, or maybe sometime later that there was cameras that are in the car. What came later was the body cams. You know what I'm saying? Body camera is on this list. Again, right after the flashpoint down there, they moved to change the rules on the body camera, and actually it was the people of the city of Seattle that said, hey, no body cameras during First Amendment demonstration. And now they moved on that and said, like, okay, well, man, if the police are going to get an order to use force during an exercise of First Amendment rights, that the body camera needs to come on. So, I mean, there's things in here. It clearly says RCW. For people that are not from here, RCW is Revised Codes of Washington. There's nothing that Mayor Durkan can do about a Revised Codes of Washington. There's something else in here that says Attorney General. There's nothing that Mayor Durkan can do as the mayor of Seattle about the Attorney General. She can influence, and she said on these points that she had no problem talking to people on it. And then, of course, number 1, immediate removal of qualified immunity. Again, the mayor said that has to occur at the state level. She did say that she supports it, and she also said that she supports that bill that's in Congress right now. So cool. So we'll take a few questions. I see you up right here.
Justin, I'm from Capitol Hill, Seattle.com.
Hey.
Good to see you in person.
Good to see you, man. What's up, brother?
So here's my question: did the mayor's office ask you to do this briefing? They asked you to come out, and then they went through your notes and approved those, and that's what you just told us?
No. So we weren't even supposed to be here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were minding our own business, and then initially it was like one group was like, "Can we stream it?" You see what I'm saying? And it was like, all right, if he wants to stream, then we'll stream. And then when the stream got cut, I was like, well, can I live tweet? Because I know that the reporters are here, and guys were like, okay, well, at least I can get the live tweet update, and for, to keep guys going on that. And then they asked me to not live tweet. And the thing is, I have my own notes, which I'll spit out to you. But what I was saying is I wanted to be clear with the mayor's position. And that's why I share, because the last thing we need out here is more misinformation.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Questions?
The decision to have you be the media representative, was that representative's decision, or was it a mayor's decision?
I'm sorry?
Was it just to have you in there, and no other media?
Man, listen, I have no idea, and to be honest with you, it's a lot of my colleagues that hit me. They were like, man, where are you at? You know what I'm saying? I mean, people from Cairo 7 hit me, CNN hit me, everybody who hit me who's media, I was like, this is where it's at. Now, our office is 1 block away, so, we walked up there, we saw Chief Scoggins and walked up there, but we had no intention, and to be honest with you, I'm not even obligated to be here because I'm not like the pool reporter. We just came there for technical to be able to stream this. But we wanted to be able to provide, feedback to you as the public. So nobody chose and said Omari is the pool reporter or anything like that. I've put myself in this position. I hope I don't regret it, but I put myself in this position because, when you see me, you're used to the live stream. You know what I'm saying? Or at least a Twitter update. And I think that the expectation is that guys out here who are either journalists or following around or community members, that you want somebody who's going to come out and say, well, man, this is what I saw and this is how it went down. So, yeah, we didn't email chat about me doing anything. I got there and it was like, the protesters were all like, man, Omari, stream this, stream this, stream this. You know what I'm saying? Let everybody see this. So the protesters were all for that. You know what I'm saying? Organizers were against it.
I have a question. Do you believe that this is going to make a change? Now, deep down inside, do you really, really believe that this is going to change the way they operate and treat us?
I think that what's happened in our city right now, and what happens a lot of times, is that people open the door for change to occur, but you know what? The citizens don't they don't hold themselves accountable to hold politicians accountable. So I mean, it's really in the hands of the people of the city if change is going to occur. The door is open, but now if people just say like, "Oh, that's good," and they go back home, that's on them. But the door is open. We heard Chief Best. We heard Chief Best talking about how she wanted to reimagine policing. We hear the mayor talking about how she wants to change things. It's up to the citizens of the city of Seattle to hold the politicians accountable. So if there's no accountability, I don't think there'll be change. But if the citizens of the Emerald City hold these politicians accountable and to every letter of every word, it's very possible.
But we have to care more to make it happen. The more we care,
100%.
the more change will come.
100%. Any other questions?
We just got here. Can you just sum up the meeting? And
I was here for a while. We play two different positions because I'm a journalist. I mean, I'm sure they'll talk to you, but I'm a journalist, and I mean, the big takeaway from this is that that there's two things here. Is that some of the demands that were presented here in the some of the demands that were presented here to Mayor Durkan, she said that either she's fulfilled it, it's in the pipeline, or there's nothing she can do about it. There's some demands here that it's up to the governor. There's things here, the RCWs are listed here. The state attorney general is listed here. Some other things that's out of the mayor's control. So she pointed that out. She pointed out some things that are on this list that are already existing, like patrol vehicles with in-car cameras. That's something that's already there. Voting restoration. Felons in this state have been able to vote for a few years, so she pointed that out. And then there's one of the big things was immediate removal of qualified immunity. She said that that's a state level. That's not a city issue, but she said that she would be supportive of somebody talking to if the people take that to Governor Inslee. She said she'd be supportive of it. That's in regards to demands. I mean, and that's what that said. But the thing is, the big thing he talked about was biggest takeaway from this. There's a few things before I get to the big one. The guy Marcus, who runs the garden over there, you guys probably see Marcus with the dreads. His biggest concern was human services. What human services are going to be available for the most vulnerable here at CHOP, whether the unhoused and people might be suffering from mental illness. They brought that up, and the mayor said that they're working today to come back to Marcus and his team here with a plan around human services. Another thing, before I get to the last big thing here, another thing was coordination around emergency response. Around emergency response, what they said is that Chief Scoggins, Chief Best, and the mayor's chief of staff are supposed to be having a meeting right now with some of those protesters who are in attendance to find out, to confirm locations where, if they apprehend somebody here, what block should they take them to get a police response, or what should they do for a fire response? So they're working on that. The last big thing is whatchamacallit, is that the mayor said Sunday morning, barriers out the streets. This gentleman right here asked for Monday, kind of said she'd think about it early on, and then she reiterated back on Sunday. Andre Taylor also repeated Sunday. She said that as far as the barriers and barricades go, She said that, man, she didn't feel that this was a negotiation. She said that these things need to get out of the street. The neighborhood needs to reopen. She said that, echoed a lot of concerns for people in the community. She said that she wants to work with protesters to be able to preserve their art that's out here, and maybe like conversation cafe, and be able to make permanent structures in Cal Anderson Park to be able to memorialize what has occurred here, is what she said. And now, as far as specific barriers or barricades, the mayor said that she wants to, or she said she's going to, on Sunday morning, remove all barricades except for the ones that outline the footprint of the East Precinct. She said that the barricades in front of the East Precinct, as well as the people camping there, will stay there for now. And, there's not an exact timeline, but she said that she sees this kind of in two different phases. I talked to her chief of staff, reiterate that, so you guys see this in two different phases. She said they see it in two different phases, being that phase one, they want to clear everything out the streets over here. SDOT wants to move everything Sunday morning. Parks wants to do all their stuff Sunday morning. And the barricade surrounding the East Precinct and the campers that are currently there would stay in their current position.
So Sunday's the big day to start clearing out stuff.
Sunday. That's what the mayor said. You know what I'm saying? I didn't hear anybody say, "Oh no, man, Sunday's not going to happen," or this or that. Did you hear anybody when she kept saying Sunday? Did you hear anybody jump in and say, "No, it's not going to happen. We're not going for it"?
No.
This is my colleague Nikki, who was also there in the meeting. I just wanted to reconfirm that, you know what I'm saying, because I don't want to misrepresent anything. When the mayor told the group of protesters that Sunday the barricade needed to come down, there was no objection that was lifted. Rooks asked for Monday, you know what I'm saying, but there was no objection that was raised in there with the group of protesters. Now it's going to be up to these protesters, up to the mayor's office to go over this. It kind of went down to tit for tat and everything else, and that's why we got out of there. I know that everybody wanted the big takeaways out of the meeting. So big takeaways are that the mayor is saying Sunday morning everything's coming down except for the barricade around the East Precinct and the campers. And she also said that she's working for a human services plan to go in tomorrow, working with Marcus, the gardener out there, and she's having Chief Best, Chief Scoggins, her chief of staff, and the protesters work on an emergency response plan and emergency response number. And as far as the demands go that were presented by the protesters, I think that her office will probably be able to give you guys a more comprehensive follow-up and a more exact and quoting follow-up as to their response on the demands. But the mayor basically said that the majority of the demands that are on this paper here were, one, have already been met by the city, or two, are in motion with the city, or three, that she doesn't have jurisdiction. They fall into a state jurisdiction. The last thing that I will say is that Andre Taylor and the protesters will be able to tell you best, but it appeared that Andre Taylor said that he wanted to work with these guys on the qualified immunity for the state of Washington. I say you guys, and it was 7-8 people that are there. I got some of the when we read the names. Some of the protesters seemed open to working with Andre Taylor and his program as far as qualified immunity and all that. So, those are the big takeaways. When we left, it was just conversation back and forth about, previous events. Talked to Lorenzo Anderson's name came up quite a few times about, the incident there, his tragic murder, and a few other things that occurred here. Like I said, the mayor said that somebody SDOT got approached by somebody with a gun earlier. That went back and forth. But those are the main points.
Question, Omar.
Yeah.
You said Durkan's keeping the door open for suggestions. By what avenue can anyone offer a suggestion to?
In what context did you say I said Durkan was keeping the door open?
Well, I heard you say earlier that the door is open. I took that to mean like Durkan and SPD are open to suggestions.
Oh, yeah, okay, you're talking about reimagining. Yeah, of course, right, Chief Best wrote an open letter, you know what I'm saying, to the people of Seattle about how policing can be reimagined in the city. And I mean, yeah, they are looking for feedback from the public as to, what kind of policing that the people in Seattle want to see. But I mean, that was a smaller conversation, a part of a bigger conversation, but that was about reimagining policing in Seattle.
Quick follow-up on the situation in the park, Omari. Did you say that city's going to work with Marcus on like the HSD and
Human services
on to clear the park Sunday or Saturday? And
Well-
who is being cleared? What's being cleared?
So Marcus, his primary concern was with the people that are considered most vulnerable in the CHOP, and that's the unhoused, the homeless. People might be experiencing mental illness and some other things. Now, clearly, if you're planning on moving people, let's say on Sunday, if you're not in that marginalized or vulnerable population, then it might impact you differently than somebody who is. So, you might have somebody who's just out here in their car, you know what I'm saying? And they might just be, a hobbyist camper here. Oh, okay, it's Sunday, let's go. But if you live in a tent, you see what I'm saying, and you don't have transportation and things like that, then if there's a deadline coming, it takes resources to be able to move people out. And so I would assume they said they're going to be working on a plan tonight, because the thing is the city sending human services in there without buy-in from somebody who's inside a CHOP, it doesn't really quite work. I think that's what they found. So what Marcus is saying is that, he's going to buy in basically with the city, and then be able to work with them as far as being able to get services to that marginalized community.
Is there a hard timeline for when they're going to move the tents out of that?
You'd have to follow up with Marcus on that. I mean, he's around. He might be over at his garden. Yeah. What?
I have one question. Are you speaking from a journalist perspective, or are you speaking for the mayor?
Absolutely not speaking for the mayor. She has her own spokesman.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, do you have any idea of what the phase 2 will look like and what's phase 2 of clearing everything out?
The mayor gave no details as to what phase. She said what phase 2. We said phase 1 was clearing everything but the East Precinct and barricade. And phase 2, which she didn't give a timeline, would obviously be then taking back the precinct. She gave no timeline. She gave no details on that.
Was there any specifics on whether or not Seattle Police or Seattle Fire would be entering the CHOP to assist with SDOT in removing the barricades?
She did not mention with that, but I mean, to me, it sounds like it's a SDOT thing. You know what I'm saying? It's been an SDOT, Seattle Parks thing. They're familiar with the space, and they might not necessarily need to be in the space. Seattle, the police and fire, I think like today, they'd probably be in an observation role, but only the city could tell you best.
With the list of demands that you were going over, it was more than the 3 that have been posted on the entrance to CHOP. Was there a specific organization that was saying what demands the mayor was addressing? They didn't identify themselves as an organization. They came there. They all had this piece of paper, though. You know what I'm saying? And this is what was presented there. I mean, there's so many acronyms going on right now, and I don't want to get it wrong, but you get what I'm saying. Is this was presented to Mayor Durkan by the protesters. Thank you.
How were the protester representatives selected? Who selected them?
I have absolutely no idea how the protesters. Nobody asked us. Not that we're experts on it or anything, and I don't even think I want somebody to ask. I don't want to be in that kind of role. But I'm assuming that the mayor's office, maybe Andre Taylor or people like that, or people who went with selecting who was going to be there. Yep.
I got a quick question, sir. How about when people, they say that the police workers are coming in here, they have resources, right? And they gave us a resource pamphlet, Sometimes you do call the resources pamphlet, sir. There's no resources, no money from the city. They have no shelters. All the shelters are full for real.
I think that's a concern that you might, if you're out here, and that's an excellent question. If you're out here and you're in CHOP, now this is me, in my opinion, as somebody who's been out here probably as long as you or longer, is that you might want to go over there to the unhoused area, see if you can find Marcus, because what they're saying is they want to be able to prioritize human services for people who are here. So that's the best advice that I could probably give you, and not speaking for their office. Hold on 1 second. I need to scan here. Is there any other questions here? We're going to get out of here after this one. Yeah. What's up?
My last question,
Yeah.
So they said they won't, just in case they come back, right? They said they won't tear gas anybody. Is that true or that's a lie, sir?
What the mayor said is that, you know, she's all for the current ban on tear gas. I think it's Judge Jackson, the temporary restraining order is there. I mean, the tactics of reentry weren't necessarily, I mean, the protesters never asked. You know, I mean, and to be honest with you, there was just a lot of questions that weren't asked. We weren't there in a question and answer capacity. Like I said, we got called last minute just to bring our streaming equipment so we could stream it. I just found myself in the middle of it, you know. But like is Nikki still here? Did you hear the protesters ask any questions about what time on Sunday? Who's gonna come in? Who had force? Was there any questions you heard?
No, it's just the only thing they left it at is that the protesters in the meeting have the contact information of who they need to meet with to organize that.
Right. So that information wasn't given out. Protesters didn't ask. I mean, we left. You know, it looks like the meeting probably ended about 5-7 minutes after we left. But those weren't questions